exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
We have great fans. I want to thank them for being here. So it's a great night for Nebraska.
The Nebraska Democratic Party is not going to have a sort of, burning bush moment where everything gets turned around in one election. That doesn't happen.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm McKoy, and welcome to segment 3 of today's Counterpoint Omaha. We've changed up the little show, and I have to tell you that I'm very excited about this. I've got two people on the radio today with us, Dorsay and Larry. Larry's on the phone from Nevada, Iowa. Dorsay is local. And, of course, my regular co-host, Dennis P. Crawford. By the way, his new book is out, Robert F. Kennedy, The Road Not Taken, and it's doing well, isn't it?
It's doing great. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, you were on a friend of mine's podcast, and you did a great job talking about that. We probably just have you do that one time here.
Thanks.
All right, so we are still one side against the other, but the rule, or at least the boundary, I don't want to make it a hard rule, but the boundary is we're nice to each other. We talk about policy. You're not going to hear names called and things like this. And if that's the type of program you want to hear, just tune on anywhere or any chat page and you'll hear it. But hopefully what you're hearing on Counterpoint Omaha now is, in this case, 3 people who are intelligent, researched, talking about the policies that have this country in disarray right now. And Dennis, you wrote down that you wanted to talk about how the Democratic Party is in disarray, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, the Democratic Party is indeed in disarray. At the present moment, rank-and-file Democratic voters are madder than heck at Chuck Schumer and the senators that rolled over and voted for a Republican spending bill last week. The Republican spending bill was negotiated in secret behind closed doors by the Republicans. Democrats are entirely and totally excluded from the process, and Schumer and 10 Democratic senators just rolled over and voted for this bill to fund the government. The bill had 2 big problems that I could see that I totally disagreed with. I would have voted no. Number one, it took away authority from the Congress to vote on and repeal Trump's tariffs. They surrendered their power to Trump on the tariffs, which is ridiculous. There's no reason for that. And 2, the bill empowers Musk and Doge to continue illegally freeze and impound spending. What Schumer should have done as an alternative was say, hey, listen, Republicans, we will vote for a spending bill if you include these 2 conditions in the bill. Number 1, restore the cuts in employment, employees at the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Administration, and bar Musk from illegally and unilaterally freezing spending. Instead, put the Doge cuts in front of the Congress for an up or down vote. And a lot of Democrats are mad at Schumer. He was unprepared. He thought the House was not going to pass a spending bill, and so he didn't have a plan B ready to go in case the House passed the bill. And that's why Democrats are in disarray. They're madder than heck at Schumer.
All right, Dorsay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
First of all, Dennis, thank you for filling in some blanks for me because I was not aware of some of the things that you had made statement on. I think one of my big struggles is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and Larry, you hang on with me on, keep me honest on this. Doge is not doing what you're saying. What they are doing is they are going through everything and identifying what the waste is, and then they are handing that information over to the appropriate authorities to make sure that it's in the picture, that people know what's out there, and that it's going to be taken care of. My issue, and I could be wrong about this, and I probably shouldn't even say anything about this, but I was under the impression that one of the things in that bill was the non-taxing on overtime, tips, and Social Security. Am I wrong?
It's not in the bill, no.
It's not in the bill.
No.
Okay, so I stand corrected on that. I appreciate that.
It could come up in a subsequent bill, but
Okay.
not this one.
All right. And so...
Will or did?
It could.
Oh, okay.
We don't know yet, Mac.
Okay.
It probably will come up.
Okay. Well, it was a campaign promise, so it better come up.
That's one of the few promises I agreed with Trump.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go on,
no,
Dorsay.
no. I appreciate that.
Well,
I appreciate
I
that.
like middle-class tax cuts. They work.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
Sorry, go on.
No worries. And so, yeah, I don't know that I really can have an educated statement on this because I wasn't aware of what was in the bill and why the Democrats were so angry. I'm kind of under the impression that the Democrats are in disarray in general. I wasn't necessarily prepared to speak to that specific instance.
Well,
Can I make it broader?
Yes.
Or okay,
Go ahead.
Let's get Larry first.
Yes, Larry.
He can talk about what we've talked about.
Yes, please.
And then you can come in again, Dennis, and then yes, we'll
Absolutely.
go back to you. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, I think in the bill that the House passed, yes, they did cede some of their, not authority necessarily, but some of their options to President Trump. But that's because they have a leader they trust. And, you know, the majority of the House, almost, I think only one dissented from it, said, yes, we trust the president enough, this president enough, to give him the options that we would normally reserve for ourselves. And I think that shows trust in their leadership. And that hasn't happened. The Doge makes recommendations and suggests that Doge makes recommendations and suggestions, but the Doge does not make those decisions. Those are cabinet decisions or decisions made by the president. So, and back to the general disarray, I think it's because, honestly, they just don't have a leader. There is no one that has the charisma or the leadership image that they feel comfortable with. And that's what's hurting them right now, with no leaders coming up, no leaders coming forward, and nobody agreeing on who would be a leader. I think they're doing the only thing they can do, and that's right now just attack.
Thanks,
so
Larry.
I don't think that's good for them.
Dennis.
I agree with Larry. There's no leader, but that's to be expected because the Republicans control the branches. I mean,
No, it's because you thought Harris would win.
Well, I thought she was going to very determined. And let me tell you something about obstruction. Mitch McConnell showed that obstruction works. When a party obstructs an unpopular president, they are returned to power. They are rewarded by the voters. And at the present time, the Democrats are the odds-on favorite to regain control of the House in 2026. Usually the first midterm election for a president is a poor midterm for the election. The swing voters are permanently pissed off, and I suspect the swing voters are going to flip from R to D in 2026 and return the Democrats to power in the House.
Dorsay, you get the last word.
Okay. So, great conversations. Learned a lot from both sides on this one. In my opinion, the Democrats are in disarray because of the fact that they took for granted their base. And what I'm not necessarily hearing from the Democrats is them saying, we goofed. They went so far left into crazy town that any reasonable human being on the planet would not be able to go there. They just couldn't do it. And the views that I have experienced with folks on that side of the aisle is it's a safety issue. It's a economic issue. The last 4 years and what they did to folks who did not agree with them was egregious. And, you know, and I've said this online. I understand that the Democrats feel the way that they do, but they really need to look internally and say, why did the Latinos move? Why did the young black men move? Why did the young white men move? Why did all of these people who we have counted on for decades to vote with us, they moved. That's why we won, because we were pretty evenly split. So, you know, I think they need to And there's a couple of people on the Democrat side that I would love to have a conversation with, right? That I don't mind them because they're reasonable people. What is the tall gentleman's name? I forget his name.
John Fetterman of Pennsylvania.
Yes. Okay. Now, I know he makes some Democrats on the other side crazy, but to me, he presents being reasonable.
He's almost libertarian.
Yeah. And, and that's all we all want, right? We just want to be able to sit down and be reasonable with one another and be kind to one another and live our lives without government being on our back, taking money that doesn't belong to them and feeding causes that do not benefit Americans.
Dennis?
I would just have to say about this whole theme, I'm going to quote the great Will Rogers, I'm not the member of any organized party, I'm a Democrat.
Oh, you get the smiley face for the day. All right, when we come back, we're going to try to cover two subjects in our next segment because we're running a little long today, but I appreciate you listening. We always do the segments, so they're usually 15, 20 minutes long and give you the opportunity to listen to a segment and then come back and listen to the rest of them. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Ukraine war and then Musk and Doge. Am I saying that right, Doge?
Doge, yeah.
Yeah.
Doge, yeah.
We appreciate you listening today. I'm Mac McKoy. Larry Sloan is in Nevada, Iowa on his cell phone at home.
Dorsay,
Dorsay, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
I think I've done that a lot.
Don't worry about it.
All right. And she's one of our new panelists. And, of course, my long-term cohort and co-host Dennis P. Crawford. Nice seeing you again after your little trip to Mexico.
It's great to be back. Great to see you, Mac. Great to get to know Dorsay, and nice to work with Larry, too.
Yeah. I'm proud of all you guys. I'm just tickled pink. I don't know what that means, but I'm tickled pink. I'm like my little dog Moses when I rub her tummy and her neck goes back. That's how I feel. All right, we're going to take our last break. Thank you for watching and listening. It's Counterpoint Omaha. You can email me if you'd like at info@Point Counterpoint, or you can just go to my Facebook page on Point Counterpoint and love to have your comments. I'm Mac McKoy. Thanks for listening to Point Counterpoint Omaha here live